This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Shalom Aleichem. Baruchim Abam. Okay, back to the regular scheduled Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. Thanks everybody for joining. We're learning today Siman Seif Katan Kuf Tes. Interestingly, in Siman Kuf Zayin, Seif Katan Kuf Zayin, the Rosh said, don't be makbid about a small thing against anybody, because you don't want to gather enemies for nothing. In Seif Katan Kuf Ches, the Rosh said, don't pursue secrets, bein adam lachaveroi, meaning don't be a yanta, don't be so curious to find out what's everybody's businesses. Don't run after that. What you know, what you don't know, you don't know. You don't have to be the source of all information. So now we're up to Seif Katan Kuf Tes. Al ta'as ba'seiser masha tizbayesh b'galoi. Do not do something in seclusion, what you would be embarrassed about openly. V'al toimer, don't say mi royeni, who sees me. It's not a good practice. Don't do secretly what you'd be embarrassed to do openly, and don't say, well, nobody sees me. So the Ber Mayim Chaim, Rav Goldberg, says as follows. He brings the Rabbi Tzalel Zolti, who brings the pasuk in Yeshaya, Hoy hama'amikim me'Hashem l'seiser etza v'hoya b'machshach maseyam. Those who do things in secrecy, in darkness, and they say, Mi royenu, mi yadeinu, who sees us, who will know? Like the Gemara says in Brachos Chav Chesem and Beis, that Rabbi Yosei said to his Talmidim, Yehiratzain, that the fear of God should be like the fear of man. They said, that's it? He said, Halavai. And the Gra is reputed to have said, if a person would feel that the eyes of Hashem are always watching him, he would not come to do an Avera. Now, we know the famous Targum in Koheles on the pasuk, Soif davar hakoil nishma. Targum Yonasim ben Uzziel says, Soif pisgam de'esavid ba'alma b'tzina. In the end, even something that's done secretly, Kula asel esparsima. Everything will become publicized one day. All of the activities that a person does in secrecy will one day become public. Now, interestingly, the Chavetz Chaim says in the Sefer Shem Olam, in the end of the Sefer, Daf Chav Tesam Beis, that in our times it's very easy to picture the words of the Tana, Ayin Roya, Oizen Shemas. We have, the Chavetz Chaim says, a camera, a photograph, so we could use that to imagine what it means, Ayin Roya. We have a telephone, so we could use that to imagine, Oizen Shemas. We have a phonograph, we could use that to imagine, V'chol Ma'asecha B'Sefer Nechtavim. Says Rav Goldberg, if in the times of the Chavetz Chaim, the minimal technology that was available allowed a person to picture the reality that there's an ayin roya, a oizen shaymas, kol ma'asecha b'sefer nechtavim, alachas kama v'kama b'zmanenu, that anytime something happens, how many cameras are everywhere? How many cameras every home has, the government has? There's no street corner that doesn't have cameras. Wherever you do, your car has a camera, your phone has a camera. Wherever you go, even though you think, no, my home is safe, your computer is recording you. Everything, your walls are recording you. Obama listens to every conversation you have. So, says Rav Goldberg, if this was true in the times of the Chavetz Chaim, alachas kama v'kama bizmanenu, you put something into a computer, it's almost impossible to completely erase it. There's some remnant, there's some file, there's some record of what happened. And all of this is a great benefit for our generation, namely, for us to imagine and to picture and to feel the reality of Ayin Roya and Oizen Shemas V'chol Ma'asecha B'Sefer nechtavim. So even though we live in a generation of Hester Panim, and it's very hard to feel Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid, but in this regard, to see that there's an ayin roya, an oizen shaymas, v'chol ma'asecha b'sefer nechtavim, that is something which is kal ma'oy, that is something which is extremely easy. Okay. Now, Ois Kufyod. Al tachshev avain, do not reckon a sin, l'misha yavoy lehisnatza lefanecha, to someone who comes to excuse himself before you, im emes v'im sheker, whether it's true or it's not true. So what does that mean? Don't consider a sin to someone who comes before you to excuse himself before you, whether it's true or not true. So the Rosh is giving advice to someone who is wronged or harmed, that don't hold it against the person forever. If he comes to give you an excuse, and you know it's a lame excuse, it's a concocted, bad. It's not an excuse. It doesn't make any sense. The guy's making up a baba mai. It's better if he wouldn't tell you the story. Still, whether he's telling the truth or even if he's making up a baba maisa, let it go. If the guy is coming to say sorry, whether it's a good excuse or the oldest trick in the book, I didn't do homework because my dog ate it, and he doesn't even have a dog, and he's allergic to dogs. If he's coming to excuse himself, he's trying to explain himself, let it slide. And we learn this from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because very often Hashem is makabel our words, even though He knows it's superficial. We come on Yom Kippur, okay, ashamnu, baganu, gazalnu, but we don't have real intention to change. But at the end of the day, God accepts it, even though He knows it's empty. Like in the Medrash, it says on the pasuk, Saru Maher, Amr Shimon Chalafta. Somebody who goes on the road, he goes 2 or 3 mil, and he makes a mistake on the 3rd mil. He made a mistake on the 3rd mil. In other words, that even when Klal Yisrael said Nasa v'nishma, the Medrash says there was some unfaithfulness in their heart. They said it untruthfully. You could apply to them the pasuk of Vayifatuhu befihem. Nevertheless, even though it was a disingenuous acceptance of the Torah, but Hashem wasn't so medactic with them. He didn't look so deeply at their hearts, whether it's true or false. And that's how we have to be noyeg in this situation. And if somebody comes and they apologize and they say, I'm sorry, so you take it at face value and you move on. In other words, don't be so, even though their excuse makes no sense, it's a lame excuse, nevertheless, you let it slide and you let it go. Okay, Rabbi say, tomorrow we will continue. Thank you everyone for coming. Bracha v'atzlacha. All the best. Bye-bye.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.